High ticket closing is a way of thinking. High ticket closing is a way of being. High ticket closing is a way of life. Hey guys, what's up? Matt here. Today, I'm going to give you the first part of 2 videos of my review of Dan Lok's The Closer's Black Book. This book cost $1,000 US, and I bought it direct from his website because I was there and I'd heard about this book, and I don't know anyone else who's bought it. I know some people who have been given it when they signed up to a course, but I wanted to pay the money. I didn't want to get sent the book. I wanted to pay $1,000 for a book so I could give a real impression of what it's like, what's in it, and then is it worth the money? Yes or no? Who knows? I don't know. So make sure you stay tuned in. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and you can be, notified of the second video. So all right, guys, cue the intro. All right guys, so today's just gonna be my initial thoughts. And then on the second video, I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into the actual content of the book, apparently written by Dan Lok himself. My first impression is that when it came in the mail, I was incredibly disappointed because it came in a brown cardboard box covered in brown paper. And it's just one of those self-published canvasy kind of, flimsy kind of shitty books. Do you know what I mean? There's no particular special. The binding is okay. I know a little bit about binding because I've made some books before, just for fun. Honestly, I was expecting a leather-bound book with gold inlay. This is black and gold, but you might not be able to see. It's just kind of that normal, I don't know, canvas covered hardback, you know what I mean? And then the paper is not really particularly, you can see through it. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can see that, but you can see through it. It's just 2 colors, black and gold the whole way through. And to be honest, I thought it would be leather. The reason why is because Dan Lok's all about image, and I would have thought that if you're selling this for $1,000, you'd want someone to open it and be blown away. So I know it's, not what the book looked like. Don't judge a book by its cover. But if you're paying $1,000 for a book, I think you should make it like a special experience, and it should come in a custom box. It should at least have an inbuilt bookmark or a notes category or something like that. There are places in which you can write, but there's really no section for notes or anything like that. So a little bit disappointed with how it came, given the fact that image is so important to Mr. Lok, and I really thought that it'd be better. So, and if I was a big DL fan, I think that had I have gotten this and paid $1,000 of my hard-earned money, I think I would have been a little bit underwhelmed, let's put it that way. The beginning of the book, really, I'll just kind of outline exactly what you get in at the table of contents. It's really a motivational book combined with some sales and business training. It goes through how to use the book, and apparently you should take this book everywhere you go. So I've done that in order to get the full effect. I've been in the car, I've been at the airport, I've been to a different city with it. I had it in my bag the entire time because I want to get the full experience of what it's like to be a closer in black with the black book, right? And I think closers in black get this as part of the course when you buy it. But essentially it says this is the creed. You will carry this book wherever you go. You will call Dan Sifu. This is meant to be a guide for high ticket closing, business and personal life. It has rules of engagements. Basically, when you become a high ticket closer, you're representing Dan himself. So speak to everybody as such. I'm sure that's why they all wear suits. It's also got the high ticket closer code of conduct. And then it's got this big long creed, which I won't bore you with. And then it says, my name is blank and I am a high ticket closer. The first part is really all about mindset. Now, I'm not a huge fan of mindset. I'm not a fan for it or against it, to be honest. But I do think that in closing, people try and say that it plays a much larger role than what it actually does. I think one of the problems with being flow state, and this book talks about flow state a fair bit, if you have to be in flow state to sell somebody, then if you're not, you can't sell anybody, and that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion. Whereas I think that I could have just gotten good news, bad news, obviously within reason. And because I have a really tight process, I'm super happy that I can sell anybody into anything in any situation. And so I look at sales as far more of a process-driven activity, which allows me to take my personal feelings out of things and then just do my process. And so I think that although some of this stuff is good with the future pacing and the goal setting, the limiting belief structures and all that kind of stuff, I believe that plays somewhat of a role. But I think that in the closing industry specifically, I think people put too much weight on it, and then by putting all the weight on it, they let it fulfill the prophecy of like, oh, I need to be in flow state and I just wasn't there today, so I couldn't do any of my sales. Or it's like, man, just have a process and do it. Like, stop putting barriers in your own way. Just suppose is a mindset thing as well, right? But I think if you're just like, hey, I just sell people, it's just a conversation with another human being. I'm not going to war. I'm not sprinting 100 meters. Like, it's not a physical activity. So I feel like as long as you're just happy with your process, you should be fine. It goes through the powers of other people's money, the rules of the closing game, professional development, personal development, how to prospect, how to handle objections, time management, reflection, goal setting, quotes to live by. Like, that's sort of like the rough overview of what you get. I think that there's probably some good stuff in here. I've read about a third of the book, so my next review will be like on the actual content of the book. This part is more about like what it's like to get it and then like what you get out of it, but my next one will be like a more in-depth review of the content. The stuff I've read so far, it's fairly simplistic. Like, it feels like kind of regurgitated stuff from other, like, just personal development, self-development, really, really basic sales training, very, very basic stuff that you get from like, say, Zig Ziglar and stuff like that. So I haven't really seen anything really profound. I think in terms of a guideline for someone who's never sold before, I think it's probably not a bad place to start, to be perfectly honest, because it is kind of like sales 101 in the terms of like, it's like, hey, don't get down on yourself. It's a process. You have to learn it. Don't get in the vicious cycles of guilt and punishment, all that kind of stuff, which I think is good for a salesperson to learn. And again, like, people have seen my review of Dan Lok stuff before. Like, I'm not here to shit on him. I think that there's some stuff he's done really well. I think there's stuff that he's done poorly. But I mean, $1,000 for this fucking book is outrageous, in my opinion. I was contacted by his team. I used a different name to buy this because I'm on his watch list of people not to talk to, so they probably would have refunded the money if I'd given them the name that they know, which isn't my real name either. Yeah, they reached out to me on WhatsApp, and then they basically said like, hey, you know, would you like to book a call? And I said yes, and they didn't follow up with me. So, you know, overall the experience, like if I'm buying something from say Grant Cardone or Bradley or Jeremy Miner, like when I buy something, like the follow-up should be somewhat relentless. And there is part of this book where it talks about being relentless and having all that kind of follow-up and stuff like that. So I thought that I would have been put into like a high ticket closing funnel relatively quickly. But the salesperson reached out to me. She was perfectly polite. She just never really followed up or chased me in any way, shape or form. And I never give like salespeople that much rope because I want them to chase me. Because that's kind of how I can tell if somebody's legit, if someone's serious, if an organization is serious about making sales and taking business the right way. I think that they will sort of follow people up, not annoyingly, but somewhat like relentlessly. So if any of Dan Lok's team is watching this, which they probably are because they watch my stuff, I'd highly recommend that you have a look at the packaging of this and just redo it. Also, like, the paper quality isn't there. And then there's a bunch of typos, which isn't really a huge deal in terms of like what you get, but like when you're paying that much money for a book, you sort of want all that stuff to be finalized and fixed. So yeah, that's my basic overview of what you get. You know, from here, we'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let me know if there's any other products or services or weird things that you want me to buy that you think would be really interesting, that you think are just way too overpriced. And if I can manage it, I will buy it and I'll have a look. Feel free to let me know what you think of the content, and I look forward to speaking to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.